What's up, Star Wars nerds, and welcome to another episode of Brett on Fett. On today's episode, I'm going to be giving my quick thoughts on the figure reveals for the San Diego Comic-Con exclusives. Then we're going to be taking a look at some recent pickups of mine, including that brand new Prototype Chewbacca. And finally, we're going to be taking a look back at the animated Star Wars figures from the game Disney Infinity. Let's get to it.
Ben? No!
Run, Luke, run!
Welcome back to the channel. This is episode 27 of Brett on Fett. And before we get into our main topics of the episode, I just want to touch very quickly on the reveals that came out earlier this week, starting with the Retro Collection 2-pack of Boba Fett and Bossk. Very excited about this one. I do like some of the Retro Collection figures, especially when it comes to bounty hunters. And they already revealed the 2-pack of Dengar and IG-88 before. And now it just makes sense that we're getting Boba Fett and Bossk. Yes, we've had Boba Fett before, but again, to me it makes sense since they're doing it kind of in 2-pack waves for the bounty hunters, and I'm almost certain next will follow with Forlom and Zuckuss. So very excited about that, especially because we're getting Bossk. Then next up we had the Mandalorian Rescue set, a pretty cool box set, a little pricey, but it does have cloth goods for the Mandalorian and for Moff Gideon, and you got little Grogu with the handcuffs, so that's pretty neat, and it's a pretty cool looking set. Probably the best thing about the set is getting the Dark Trooper and the flame effects for the Dark Trooper. It's a pretty sweet looking set. Then we had the Selfie Series reveal, which is where you can send in your photo and they do like a digital rendering and create your own action figure. To me, I think this is a little weird. I think it comes off a little creepy, actually. I have zero interest in this, but if you think that's something you want, then go for it. As I was editing this video, I realized I completely forgot to mention the SDCC exclusive Black Series set for Cassian Andor and B2EMO or B2EMO. And I think it's a pretty cool set, the way they did the box and everything, and the figure and the droid look pretty good. I just think the Cassian Andor figure looks a little too glossy for my taste, especially his head and his hair for some reason. And maybe it's just the photographs that were revealed, but something looks a little strange with that. And finally, the reveal that I really want to talk about today is that of the other San Diego Comic-Con exclusive for the Black Series, that being the Boba Fett in Disguise, which is the latest reveal from Hasbro's publishing series, or what I prefer to call the comic book series. And this reveal has been met with a lot of controversy and a lot of anger from many Black Series fans. And so let's quickly take a look at why they're upset and what my thoughts are on it. And here's a look at the outer box. As you can see, it says War of the Bounty Hunters. That is the comic book that this version of Boba Fett is from. And these boxes always look really cool. As you can see here, they removed the plastic on the inside part, which I actually have no problem with in this particular case. And as you can see, they have painted Boba Fett completely in black, kind of a metallic black, and given him a battle axe. And that is from the comic book where he disguises himself by painting himself black, and he enters a gladiator fight in an arena and goes by the name Jango Fett, actually. And the reason so many collectors are up in arms about this reveal and upset is because, once again, Hasbro has used that original Empire Strikes Back Fett that we've gotten since 2013 and repainted that version of Fett rather than using a newer version such as the Deluxe Return of the Jedi Fett, which is a better sculpt, it's more updated, and has better articulation. Now, that all being said, I'm always going to be honest with you guys with my opinions, and in this case, I am totally fine with this repaint for two reasons. One, the scene this is emulating from the comic book takes place immediately after the events of Empire Strikes Back when he hauls Han and Carbonite away, and so this is the more accurate figure to that particular time period versus the Return of the Jedi Boba Fett. So I'm fine with them using that if that's what they have. And two, I just think it looks good. I really think this looks good. I know it's a simple repaint. It's black. I understand it doesn't have multiple paint apps. And I understand the frustration with collectors over the deluxe pricing on this. I'm not happy with that. But at the same time, I still think it looks good. It passes the eye test for me. I know the articulation isn't as good, but that's just not as big a deal to me as long as I can pose them the way I want, which I have been able to with the original Empire Fett. So I just don't have a problem with it, and I don't feel like I should be criticizing Hasbro anytime that I hear frustration from the fans. So I just felt like on this case I had to speak up and say, look, I'm okay with it. I'm not okay with the price, but I'm okay with the figure. I'm okay with them reusing the figure one more time. It's getting old, I know, and again, I understand the frustration, but on this particular case, I'm okay with it, and I will be buying this figure. And so I'm kind of sorry, but not sorry. And in case you didn't know, these will be available for pre-order first to fans who attend the San Diego Comic-Con. They'll be given a QR code which they can then use to pre-order the figure on Hasbro Pulse. And then sometime after the convention is ended, Hasbro Pulse will make a limited quantity available to everyone else for pre-ordering. So if you're one of those fans who are really upset about them repainting that old Fett again, please don't buy this figure so that I have a better chance of getting it myself. Next up, I want to quickly go over some recent pickups of mine from the Black Series, the Retro Collection, and the Vintage Collection. Let's take a look. And first off, from the Black Series, I finally got my Boba Fett throne room from the Book of Boba Fett. I got this guy on Amazon, and he actually came a little earlier than the estimated time of arrival, so that was a nice surprise. Great looking figure. I'm sure you guys have seen this. There's plenty of reviews on him, but just want to show you guys that I did get him, and I'm very happy with this one. I love that re-armored look on Fett. And of course, with these recent Fett Black Series figures, the face sculpt is amazing. Very good likeness to the actor Tamora Morrison who plays Fett. The only thing I didn't like is his little sensor scope there. It does not rotate. It just kind of stays static in that position. And here's the other Fetts from Black Series just for comparison. You've got the, of course, deluxe Return of the Jedi Fett, which is awesome. You know, it's kind of the gold standard right now. The sculpts, great looking figure, and a different sculpt, I believe, from this throne room figure. I mean, aside from the pants, of course, I think the whole thing is a little bit different. And then here's the one, the original Empire Fett. I've already shown in previous episodes and talked about earlier in this episode that people were so up in arms about being reused. And you can tell when you compare him to the other two that he is a little bit outdated. And next up, I was at Target the other day and was able to get my hands on the brand new Retro Collection Prototype Chewbacca. And if you guys are familiar with my channel, you may know that I am a collector of these. I do love these prototype figures, mostly because of the card backs. These are amazing card backs. Now, I wasn't as excited about the CHEWIE when it first came out, but having it in hand, I do love it. I love it just as much as the others. I like that retro sticker on this one. It's a little different color than the others. And I like the orange-bodied CHEWIE. I don't collect all the variations, all the colors for these, so I just picked one, and I did like the orange version of him. Looking at the back, the artwork on the back is just as amazing as the art is on the front. Just love the iridescent card backs. And I think these really pop in an acrylic case because I just think they look really good. And you can see next to the others how well these pop. I mean, these are like artwork to me. So I'm just going to keep collecting them as long as Hasbro puts these out. Next up for the vintage collection, I got the reissue of the CHEWIE figure on an Expanded Universe card. I've been wanting this figure for so long, just didn't want to pay the aftermarket prices for the original version. What an amazing card back. The figure is great. The new head sculpt is so much better than the original. I love the head sculpt on this. Great looking uniform sculpt on this figure. I love her guns. I love her swappable helmet. Is so cool looking. I love everything about this. It's one of my favorites. It's VC 101. Unfortunately, the back of the card on this reissue is terrible. It only has her and the Lando and the gaming greats and a ton of writing. And I just wanted to give a quick shout out to all 3 figures from the Old Republic game in the vintage collection. Starting with Darth Malgus. Again, just an awesome card back. Really cool. Awesome figure. I mean, this guy looks amazing. Love the head sculpt. I love that character debut sticker, by the way. And looking at the back of the card, you can see it's VC96. And this is when they did the backs right. You know, they're so colorful with all the pictures and everything, and not a whole lot of writing like they do now. And then the Republic Trooper, also from the Old Republic. This is the reissue version I got fairly recently. Awesome card back, awesome looking figure. Because it's the reissue, the back is very boring, but you can see it's VC 113. But man, all 3 of these are great. Shout out to whoever was in charge of bringing the Old Republic characters to TVC, because they did a great job. And finally, the latest figure I've received in the mail the other day is Lando Calrissian on the Battlefront 2 card. This is from the Gaming Greats line, of course. And I did think it was weird at first that this was going to be a Battlefront 2 card back, but this figure's grown on me. It's the figure I didn't know I needed. It's really great. I just love the colors on this figure. I love his weapon there, and for some reason I'm drawn to his shoes. I thought they just did a really good job with the shoes. I don't know why. I think his shoes are so cool, but just the colors really pop in this figure, obviously. So it's just really neat. It's a good looking card back. And looking on the back, you can see this is VC 238, and again that terrible backing. That's the same as CHEWIE. But really happy with this one. Very colorful figure and card back, and I'm just very pleased with both of these Gaming Great figures I have recently received. Alright, so moving on to the main topic of this episode, I want to take a look back at the animated Star Wars figures from the video game series Disney Infinity. I think these are highly underrated figures. I think they're very cool designs. And so before we get into the figures themselves, let's quickly take a look at what Disney Infinity is in case you are not familiar with it. So Disney Infinity was a series of action-adventure video games that incorporated real-life toys into the game. You could collect figures for the different Disney characters, plug them onto a game board, and then play as that character in the game. Disney Infinity 1.0, which was released in 2013, featured figures and games from Disney hit films such as Pirates of the Caribbean, The Incredibles, and Cars. Disney Infinity 2.0, which came out in 2014, focused on the Marvel Universe and featured figures and games from the Avengers, Spider-Man, and Guardians of the Galaxy. And finally, in 2015, Disney Interactive Studios released Disney Infinity 3.0, which for the first time featured figures and games from the Star Wars franchise. The first story-based Star Wars game made available for Disney Infinity 3.0 was called Twilight of the Republic. This game took place in the Clone Wars era and featured the playable characters Anakin Skywalker, Ahsoka Tano, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Yoda. Later, Disney Infinity 3.0 would release a second Star Wars game called Rise Against the Empire. This game took place during the original trilogy era and featured the playable characters of Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, Han Solo, and Chewbacca. You could also unlock and play as Darth Vader and Boba Fett. Then finally, the Star Wars game The Force Awakens was made available to play, and that game of course took place during the events of The Force Awakens from the sequel trilogy. Playable characters included Rey, Finn, and Poe Dameron, and then you could also unlock Kylo Ren as a playable character. The initial Disney Infinity 3.0 package came with the Twilight of the Republic game included and 2 figures, Anakin and Ahsoka. However, if you wanted to play the other Star Wars games and figures, then you had to buy those separately. The Rise Against the Empire game came with 2 figures, Luke and Leia, and the Force Awakens game came with 2 figures as well, Rey and Finn. If you wanted to play the other characters, those could be purchased as single figures by themselves. And here's a quick look at all of the Star Wars figures that were produced for Disney Infinity 3.0. I first got this game as something fun to play with my son, who was about 5 years old at the time and was learning to play video games. The game is straightforward and easy enough for younger kids to play, but I also really loved the look of the figures, so it was fun for me to collect these as well and let my son be able to use them to play as the different characters in the game. So let's take a closer look at some of the figures my son and I have. Alright, so first off, I just wanted to show you the game board that comes with Disney Infinity. This is what determines what game you want to play and what characters you want to use. And so for the game, they give you a piece like this. This is a Death Star. This is for the Rise Against the Empire game. And you would set that on that back piece like that, and that would tell your system that's what the game you wanted to play. And then you would set your figures. And so first up for the figures that initially came with the game is Anakin Skywalker from the Clone Wars. You can see these are very cool looking figures. They are static. They're not action figures. They're made of a combination of resin and like a rubber material, or maybe like a soft plastic material. You can see I can kind of move it around there a little bit. This one's a little bit beat up, probably from my son playing with him. He's got some scratches on there, but not too bad. But just an awesome looking figure. I love the designs of these. I love the animated look. It's kind of similar to Tartakovsky, but not quite. And here is Ahsoka. She is the other figure that came with the set. Awesome looking figure here. I just love the details and the colors. It really captures the look of the video game characters. And she's got an awesome pose there with her two lightsabers. And she is actually one of my favorites of this collection. So those are the two that came with the game. And now let's take a look at the other figures, starting with Darth Maul. This guy looks awesome. You can see he's got that rubbery soft plastic material for some of his uniform. Unfortunately, my son did break the back half of his saber. We had to glue that back, so that was unfortunate. And it looks like some glue got on his elbow. But man, look at that face sculpt. Just really cool looking. Can't say enough about these designs, and this is another one of my favorites. Next is Luke Skywalker from A New Hope, aka Farm Boy Luke. Very simple design, but very cool. This one looks to be in really good shape. I think my son probably didn't care for this one, so he didn't play with it too much, I guess. And again, this guy came included with the Rise Against the Empire game along with Princess Leia. And speaking of Leia, here she is, looking awesome. I love this pose they used for Leia. She looks really cool there, holding her blaster. Her dress is really cool. Uh-oh, we got a little smudge there. I'm going to have to figure out how I'm going to get off. But yeah, the dress is really cool. I love her face, and the eyes, again, look really good. A very good looking Leia. Next up, we have Han Solo. He is one you had to buy extra by himself. Pretty good likeness of Harrison Ford as an animated version of him, at least. Really cool pose. Very classic pose. And look on his face sculpt, he's actually got the little Harrison Ford scar on his chin, so that's a nice little touch. But I love his blaster. And again, just really cool, iconic pose for Solo. So great figure there. And then you got to have his best bud, Chewbacca. This is a really interesting take on Chewbacca. Very different than what we're used to, but a really cool animated version. I love the details of his different layers of fur, and his bowcaster looks awesome. And look at that expression with his teeth. Just really cool. I love this figure. Next up is the man himself, Darth Vader. Very cool version of Vader. Of course, you got the different textures with his cape being that, again, that rubbery, soft plastic. Really cool looking pose where he's kind of using the Force there. There's a look at his helmet. Looking very imposing. Just really cool to see an animated version of Vader. And of course, I've saved the best for last. This is Boba Fett, and it is a very cool version of Boba Fett. As you can see, they kind of worked in that vintage style bluish color, and he's got the soft plastic cape there, which is a nice little touch. But man, look at the details. You got the Wookiee braids and everything. His blaster rifle looks really cool, and they got the exaggerated dent on his helmet, what you'd expect for an animated version. I love this one so much. I actually bought an extra, so this is what he looks like carded. I keep this one for myself because I love Boba so much. And there's a look at the back of the card. You can see there it's showing it's not compatible with the previous versions of Infinity. And there's a look at the Star Wars Infinity figure collection for Star Wars. But awesome figure, one of my favorites. So real quick, I just wanted to take a closer look at some of the figures I did not show you on video. Starting with Yoda from the Clone Wars. Really cool figure. I actually thought we had this one and just couldn't find him for some reason. And then Obi-Wan Kenobi from the Clone Wars. Then they actually had the Rebels characters. You had Sabine, Ezra, Zeb, and Kanan. These were awesome, although they never did come out with a Rebels game, just the figures. And then finally for the Force Awakens game, they had Finn, Rey, Poe Dameron, and Kylo Ren. Okay, so at this point, I have shown you every single Star Wars figure that was officially released for the Disney Infinity game. However, after that game ended, the love for Infinity-based figures went on through fan art. And recently, I discovered an artist named Caitlin Ashford who has an amazing collection of Infinity-based figure art that you can actually go to her webpage, you can view the photos of her figures, and you can actually download the 3D printer files to print on your own 3D printer if you have one to make your own Infinity figures. And these are awesome characters that we never got with the official game, but I could argue we desperately needed. So let's take a look at some of these figures that Caitlin has created. And by the way, I will leave a link to her webpage in the description of this video, so you can go and check these out yourself and hopefully download them. So first up in Caitlin's collection, you have General Grievous, one of my favorite characters from the prequel, and a character that was prominently featured in the Disney Infinity game, so it's beyond me why they didn't produce a figure for this one, but he looks fantastic. And then next, Caitlin made a Magna Guard. Gotta have a Magna Guard to go with your General Grievous. Again, he looks really good. She's really capturing the style of Disney Infinity here. And there is a Droideka. Awesome, again, with the Clone Wars. And of course, if you're gonna have Droidekas, you gotta have B1 battle droids. And of course, you gotta have the B2 Super Battle Droid to go with your B1s. So great Clone Wars figures there. And then now she's got a Rogue One character. You got K2SO. That is a fan favorite. And then she has one of my favorite droids, the Probe Droid, or Probot as some people call them. Really awesome looking. And then of course you got a Stormtrooper. I can't believe they didn't come out with a Stormtrooper as a playable character in the original game. But Caitlin has captured the look perfectly. Then she's got a cute little mouse droid. Very simple design on that one, but still very cool. And then for fun, she's got a Jar Jar in Carbonite. I mean, who doesn't love Jar Jar in Carbonite? And then everyone's favorite droids, and another one of my favorites from Caitlin's collection, you have C-3PO and R2-D2. Man, these look fantastic. Bravo to Caitlin for really doing these characters justice in the Disney Infinity style. I think these are just fantastic, and I hope you guys do too. Alright, that's going to do it for this episode of Brett on Fett. Let me know in the comments what you think about the Disney Infinity figures, and if any of you out there own a 3D printer, let me know if you'll consider downloading the designs from Caitlin's sculpts and making your own Infinity figures from her awesome collection. Thank you so much for my subscribers. Don't forget you can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Take care, and we'll see you next time.